My name's Matt, and if you're here, you love garbage. The 80s garbage, 90s trash. You and me, we're two peas in a whatever holds peas. But at this point in your life, everything you own, all the plastics, breaking, getting brittle, creaking, rattling around, you know what's the difference is between your 20s and 30s? Figuring out which knee is going to be the bad knee. Those things you've got on lockdown. So let's fix some plastic pieces on some stuff. So today we're going to look at the BroncoGraveyard.com Fuel Selector Dash Repair Bracket. And while we're in there messing around, I'm going to show you how I like to repair plastic trim panels. Just like how on Fox Body Mustangs, the ashtray doors never fix and it just kind of sits off to the side broken, or someone's just completely removed it. This is their version of that. It's the fuel tank selector switch. You're probably asking yourself, Matt, why is there a fuel tank selector switch? That doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't. But Ford had to figure out a way to make it so they could have a 300-mile range. Just keep adding gas tanks until you hit that mark. Simple as that. The mounting ears where this switch connects into, they like the PD. It's where the head falls off the bird from Dumb and Dumber, the head fault PD. Don't worry about it. It rattles around the dash constantly and annoys the heck out of me. Speaking of rattling, looks like this whole dash panel not doing so hot. Let's go ahead and pull the headlight switch knob out. You just gotta give her an old rub and tug. Nope, just a tug, actually, this time. In a normal world, with a normal person, in a normal old F-150, you'd have to take off these trim pieces to actually get to the screws that hold this big panel on. Not so this one. That's my first clue something else is going on here. Here you can see what's, left of the mounting tabs. Those screws shouldn't, that shouldn't happen, is what I'm trying to say. Normally these clips along the top, they like to break off too. The first step to fix the whole mounting screw through the hole issue, take some 1/8" ABS plastic and then cut out some little pieces that fit perfectly in the dash. To cut ABS really easy, I like to score it a few times with a knife, then I like to follow up with a technique I learned from Legally Blonde. Bend and snap. I recommend taking the extra time to make sure these pieces are a snug fit. Once you get all your little plastic pieces ready to go, sand all the edges of the existing part and the new stuff. That way it's got some tackiness for the glue to really burn into. For this project, I've chosen the best, cheapest plastic epoxy they make. See, says it right there on the label. Do it best. Or in this case, do it okay. Go ahead and splooge out a nice sized load on a piece of cardboard. If that's what she said, then throw a little dollop of daisy onto your new piece, and then a little bit of daisy on the other piece. Well, we joked about this glue being, sort of okay-ish best. Well, that it's actually melting a little bit where the glue's been. That's a sign that ass, it's nice. And it's actually probably gonna glue these pieces together pretty well. Now we've got to fix those little tension clamps that slide inside the dash hole. After digging around in my secret little bolt screw storage bin, found out that 832 machine screws fit in the existing hole when these clips break off. I still like to throw epoxy in there, just because I like a little bit extra love with my sandwich. Now that we got the epoxy in there, we're gonna let it cure for a little bit, start the install of our repair bracket. The kit's pretty straightforward with one metal bracket, 2 speed clips, and 2 screws. The first step is to remove the existing headlight switch screws. You'll either need a Torx bit or a 7mm socket. Once you've got that off, throw your new bracket on there and reinstall the screws. Remove the existing screws from your fuel switch, if they still exist. Then slide on your screw mounting clips onto your repair bracket. I'm going to leave the bracket and the fuel switch a little loose in its home right now. That way you get some play when you slide on the dash panel. Make sure everything lines up. And there we go. New bracket installed. Since the fuel rocker switch is a little firm when you press it, I was worried that when you click it in, it was actually going to push into the dash. And I kind of wanted to drag my feet on this, but the bracket seemed to be super sturdy, basically no movement. And while I got the dash apart, I'm going to go ahead and clean up all the weird nonsense that's floating around back here. Oh yeah, look at all that. Some hairs from some critter that lived in here and tried to eat the seat. And whatever this is. Some sort of twig. Before we get the dash panel in there, I'm gonna go ahead and drill some oversized holes where these screws used to was. They got the good margin of error of about 1/4 inch because that's the kind of accuracy I deserve. And then once you slide the dash panel in, go ahead and screw these bad boys down. If you play your cards right, the bolt holes will line up perfectly. If you don't, welcome to my life. Just like she rolled off the showroom in '95. Probably. Well, it probably looked better than this in '95, but, not bad. Not bad at all. But here's the $400 daily double question. Is this an actual better repair than just buying a replacement dash panel for a little bit more money? But like seriously, these panels are super cheap now. But there's a reason they're cheap. They fit terrible, which, in its defense, that's how the originals fit too. They use the exact same design as Ford, so it hasn't broken, yet, but they will. So if your gauge cluster bracket doesn't have any crazy cracks in it and is in decent shape, I recommend just replacing the trim clips in it that are broken, gluing her back together, and buying the Bronco Graveyard fuel switch repair bracket. Worked out pretty well.